This program is brought to you in part by SalCal Real Estate Connections. Yes, welcome to Racing Action Today. We're here today with truck racer Cameron Varricchio. I believe that's like a late model truck, right? Right, Cameron?
They're more like a street stock for Waterford. Yeah. They're pretty much similar to just about the street stocks and late models, but with a truck body.
I mean, I like to compare it to, like a late model, except it's a truck, right?
Yeah.
And
so it's fun. They're a lot of fun.
The number 54 race truck. I believe we have a photo of that truck. And I got to ask you, though, how did you get started in racing to begin with?
So it all started back when I was about 7 years old. My dad goes, I want you to come take a look at this. So he brings me to the Berlin Fairgrounds and brought me to Nutmeg Kart Club. We did a show on that a couple of weeks back. And he goes, is this something you're interested in? I watched the karts and I found a love for it. So a couple weeks later, my dad ended up showing up at the house with a go-kart and goes, here you go. At the time, my number was 94. I kind of stole the number from my dad's friend because it was his go-kart. He just was too big, couldn't fit in it anymore. And that's where it all started. It just kept progressing from there over the years.
So it was go-kart racing that got you in this thing. And how old were you?
About 7.
Oh, wow. So you did that, right? You did that for a number of years, I imagine. How many years did you do it?
Did it for about 12, 13 years.
Oh, wow. Now, when you were doing this, did you move up in a class too, or
yeah, so
go to a faster go-kart?
Yep. So over the years, I'd gone through, Nutmeg had a couple junior classes, so you had 1, 2, 3. When I started, I think we were in 2. So I did 2, 3. Then I got into the little bit of the higher kart classes. Over the years, they've changed them. So some of the classes I was in, I don't know if they're there or not anymore. But I got into those. And then sadly, in 2018, my grandfather had passed away. He passed. My dad and I had my dad had the truck sitting there. And my dad told me from when I turned 14, he's like, I want to get you in this. And he was bugging my grandfather about it.
So it was a race truck already?
There was a race truck already that was originally my grandfather's.
Oh, wow.
So he was bugging him for the longest time, and he kept saying no. So we put it back together it was more for like a tribute and for me to try to start somewhere. Mm-hmm. So we put it all back together, and then everything with COVID hit. So the truck didn't see the track for a couple of years, for like a year or two after we finished it.
Yeah. So during that time you were in go-kart racing, you moved up into higher classes and faster go-karts, right? Yeah. Same kart though, just modified.
Just a little bit. So they do plate restrictions. So it restricts how much air and fuel make sure goes into the motor, and it just slows them down a little bit.
Now, when you were doing this racing with the go-kart, did you have it in mind that someday you would like to bring this to a much different level?
Yeah, so I actually was thinking about it for years when I was a kid. I was like, it's every kid's dream. You watch NASCAR, you want to be on NASCAR. So that was a thing I pushed for. Mind you, I was not good in go-karts at all. I was pretty terrible.
Really?
Yeah, I only have 1 win at that track. And it was the only race that kind of counted towards nothing. It was a money race. They go, here you go.
Yeah. Well,
so.
And of course, so if your grandfather raced, I imagine your father must have raced too.
Yep. So it all started back when my grandfather had a modified, or champ karts with my dad. They did those. Then it went into SK modified and just kept progressing from there. Then that's when my dad started. I think he was in his 20s, he said. he started, and that's when he kept going. Came back with his first street stock, and started at Stafford. He roped my other grandfather into it, and it just kept growing from there for them.
So you had this going on during the time you were beginning to race on with the go-karts, right?
Yeah, so that was all. So the street stock was a little bit before me. That was about a couple years before me, I think they said. But yeah, I've just been around racing my whole life, and that's what really got me into it. I just saw my parents. My parents were involved. My dad, my grandparents, and after seeing the go-karts, I'm like, yep, I want to go fast.
Yeah. Well, of course, you must have had friends too that probably raced.
So it was actually not really common for a lot of kids in my town to be racing. A lot of them were just go home, do whatever, go back to school. There was really only a couple kids I knew in town that did racing, but they didn't do what I did. They did dirt bike racing. So they would come into school one week. They'd take off for the weekend and go, a couple hours away.
Yeah. BMX is very popular.
Yep. They would come back with broken legs, broken shoulders, arms. One of my buddies ended up breaking his ankle like 5 times, and plates and screws. So you name it, it was different. I stayed away from a lot of the crowded kids too. I was more to myself. So the only kids I really knew that raced were at the track, and then we'd go home. We didn't really talk to each other when we were not at the track, but when we go back to the track, it was as if we never left.
Now, so then your father got you involved with this truck, which was your grandfather's.
Yep.
And now, you had to start out in that class, or was it a different truck class back then?
So back when we first started, it was all just one class. The truck I ran had a 302 Ford, so it was a standard Ford block that was machined and done up real nice. The guy that ended up building it for me was Phil Molsky out of Berlin.
Yeah, we know Phil, yeah.
PMR. He told us that was one of his last circle track motors because we wanted him to do it. I'm like, my dad begged him almost to do it because we knew how good he was with Fords, and it was his staple. He was a Ford guy. So that was that in there. But with that class, you could also run 305s, 350s, the 602s. So you had all different varieties. We could have all ran all different kind of rear ends, like 7.5s, 8.5s, 10-inch, Ford 9-inch. Sorry, 10.5. The Ford 9 inches, or the Winters, even like some stuff in the modifieds. So it was very vast rule of group of categories you could do.
Now, how did they control keeping the competition? Was it by weight?
Yeah,
like if you had a certain motor, you had to weigh so much?
Yeah, exactly. So I had to weigh 2985, I believe. So I had to be about 2,985 pounds, give or take.
Is that with the driver?
That was with the driver.
Okay.
Yeah, when I first started, I was like 160 pounds, and now I'm like 210. It's a big difference.
Yeah.
So, but
that's how they controlled it.
Yeah,
because some people had a bigger motor, right?
Yep. So they use weight to very much control some of the speed. Even if you had a really good motor and a real fast car, you were unbeatable. I mean, I remember the first night I went out, there was only 6 of us, and I was running third for almost the entire feature, and then my axle snapped, and that was the end of it. It was,
Now, at some point, they changed the class. Is that it?
So yeah. So at the end of last year, there was a guy that had a 302 with aluminum heads on it. That's just they're tracking it like that, and they just kind of got tired of people using the rules to whatever they wanted. So they closed off some of the rules, made them a little bit stricter. We all went from whatever we ran to 602 crates, and that was the end of it. There was no ifs, ands, or buts.
Now, 602 crates, they're not. Are they real expensive or no?
Due to inflation and the price gouging like they're doing now, they're a little bit more expensive. I think last year I got a quote on one, and he was like, for full dressed, water pump, everything on it. He called. I think he said it was like 10 or 11,000.
Oh wow, they're not cheap.
No, but if they're bare and you have everything already, they're relatively cheaper.
So you started racing this thing, right? Originally with the 302, and then you ended up changing the class change, and they ran a GM motor. Now, how did you do? I mean, did you finish decent or point wise, or how'd you do?
So I don't do full seasons. I don't have the funding to do so because a lot of it I do it myself, or I have a couple guys that help me out. There was definitely a difference between the 302 to the 602. Having the built 302 in there definitely felt like there was a little more power, or a little bit more speed at the end of the straightaway. But now with the 602, you definitely feel like you're going faster. Be honest with you, they're pretty much equal almost. It's just because you have a good motor in the car doesn't mean you're going to be fast. It's all based on setup, how you drive, how you set the car up.
Yes. Tires, how you set the car up.
Yep.
Now, ride height, is that a standard thing?
Yeah, so I believe we run a 5-inch ride height now.
Okay.
Yeah, it's like 5-inch ride height.
And of course, we didn't talk much about the track. You raced at Waterford, right?
Yeah, so
was that right from the start?
Right from the get-go, it was just Waterford.
Well, and you still go there today?
Still go there every weekend when we're running or when I can.
So now you're racing all year, right? Or how many you do?
Yeah.
Is there a point system there?
So yeah, Waterford does the same standard point system as a lot of the other tracks. I've been there for maybe 7 or 8 races, and I'm 10th in points right now.
Okay.
There's no way I'm going to move anywhere farther up on the leaderboard anywhere. Just with the way everyone coming up, because some nights there's a lot of trucks, and some nights there's not as many. Like I've seen the highest car count one night when I was there. It was like 17 or 19 of them. Went out there and I finished like 5th.
Now, when they race, you race every week or whatever.
Yep.
Is there like handicap the way they put you, how you start, or does that go by heat?
I'll be honest with you, I have no idea. I just look at the board. They tell me I'm in I'm in 7th place.
Yeah.
That's where I just sit.
Now, is there a heat for first or a couple of heats?
They do one. They could call it a group qualifying, pretty much. It's not really like you're qualifying the race because everyone gets into the main event. But I think they just use that to help try to stagger where everyone's going to go.
Do they time you? Or no?
I've seen some time trial. They did the time trials before to see how it was going. They didn't do it for our division, but they left a regular standard. I think it was a 6 or 7 truck heat race.
Yeah. And then, of course, you have the feature, right?
Yes.
And now you get so many points to where you finished in the feature. Is that from the top 5 or 6, or does it go all the way back? How does that work?
So the way that points racing works is they start off with a certain number. So say it's 50. You get 50 points to finish in first, and as you go down the line, you lose a couple points for the different positions, and then as they get to the back of the pack, they set at a set number. So those ones at the back of the pack, they don't get to where, say we got 50 cars, they get like 5 points. I believe they stick at one certain number, and they give them all the same.
Now when you at the end of the race, people that come in, let's say first, second, or third, do they go through an inspection or weigh-in or anything like this?
Yeah, so once the race is over, they'll send them onto the track. They do their track interview, first, second, third. 4th place drives off the track, goes right to scale. Some nights I've seen them weigh in 5 cars and just tech four of them. I've seen them tech 5 cars one night, just for points-wise. So the leaders in the points race had to get teched, plus the whoever won the races.
Now, when they check the car and tech, I mean, what are they checking for? Cubic inch or carburetor? Well, how does this work?
So they're going to be checking for just about anything they deem they want to check that night. So they want to check shocks, they're going to check shocks. They want to do, they want you to check transmissions, they'll have you pull the transmissions and pull the side cover, they'll look in it. They're just trying to maintain a standard for all the drivers that are on the same, same. They want them to be about the same.
Mm-hmm.
They don't want one person having an advantage over the other because it's just not fair. Not saying it's just because it's, someone gets a little bit of advantage doesn't mean it's not fair. It's just they found something that someone else didn't.
Yeah. Well, it's very competitive. You know that. And if someone could take advantage of the rule book, they're going to take advantage of the rule book.
Oh, yeah. Right down to the very degree.
Right down, no matter what, right?
Yep.
Now, if you had to give somebody advice how to start racing, let's say at Waterford, do you think your class is a good place to start?
I think so. The trucks are pretty much just about the same as, like we said earlier, it was just about the same as late models and street stocks. Mm-hmm. It's a good start class. I definitely think there's a lot more respect in the truck division than some other divisions because we go out there, we'll have 18 trucks, maybe 2 of them wreck out on their own or something happens, but most of the time we give each other space, we respect one another, they give respect back.
Yeah.
It's more of the code, it's more of the way of race the way you want to be raced. So I give the guys as much room as I can, and when it comes down, say to the final lap, we use each other up a little bit, but we come back and then, like, I walked away from that night. I came off the line, coming out of 4. I used someone's door up and I pinched them off the corner, because I don't want to finish behind someone. I want to finish in front of them. And everyone does it. You can't, so finish in front of them, come back the next 2 weeks. I look at them and go, well, didn't mean to door you that hard coming out of the corner, but, I'm sorry about that. He goes, no, that's good racing. I like it that way. We race hard, we race fast. It's the way it is. I just really, he was a great, really good driver. And he just was like, giving a little bit of advice.
Now, how long, time-wise, how long does it take you when you're running good to run the track?
When I'm running...
Now, how big is the track, number one?
So I believe it's an 1/8 mile. It's nothing huge. It's a little bull ring.
Well, it's bigger than 8. It's got to be.
I think
it's got to be maybe
quarter?
5/8, no, or 5/16, or not. Maybe I don't think it's 3/8. It might be.
I don't remember. It's really.
It's not a half mile. I know that.
No.
Or a quarter mile.
Yeah, it's a little smaller than that.
Yeah, it's near a quarter. Yeah.
So, to get around that track, so the fastest truck in the division is doing about a 16.9. Mm-hmm. I saw a kid put down a 16.89. Fastest I'm running right now is about a 17. It was a 17 like 8. Or sorry, not 8. That's way back in the fact. It was like a 17.2 I was running. But those aren't. The thing is that the guys running 16.8, 16.9s. Those are just one quick heat lap. Those aren't real consistent laps because when they about hit that speed, that time, after that their truck kind of falls off a little bit, because you're cooking the car. Tires getting too hot and not going to work as well. So then they fall back down to about a 17 flat or like a 17.1. So being at a 17.2, there's still room for improvement for my truck. So I'm not worried about where I'm at.
So you're more concerned about finishing the race than you are, trying to make it go the fastest, right?
Well, in order for you to be able to run races, you got to finish in races first. You can't just go out there and, you break something on the second lap and you're just sitting in the infield at that time. Now,
the people you're racing with, do they race other classes too that same night or no?
I actually don't know. A lot of the drivers, I think, they stick to the one division. Mm-hmm. I think there might be like a guy or two that runs out and does like a SK or late model, but I don't know. Most of them, I think, are just the trucks and that's it.
Okay, now when you go to the racetrack with your truck, is there an entry fee or just You have to just pay to get in the pits, or how's that work?
So the way you get into the pits is you show up with your trailer and your truck, walk over, you pay the $42 entry fee for yourself. So it's just for pit bands. And then you show up and you race.
So that's basically like a pit pass for yourself. It's really not an entry fee. It's just the fact that as a driver, you're going to pay as a pit pass, right?
Yeah, it's just a pit pass. They don't make you pay any extra for the truck. At the beginning of the season, though, they do ask you you have to register the number. So I think it was $65 this year for me to register my number. So it just means I can go there, $65 for the whole year to run. As long as I follow the rules and do as they ask, we're good.
So you join is like a club or no? How does that work?
It's just a fee. So they just ask you. So when they do that, it's holding the number so no one else can use that number.
Yeah.
And you just show up.
Yeah.
It's not like a really club. They don't make you sign much paperwork other than like a W.
Now, has the people coming to the racetrack, the spectators, has it been good or quieter or more busy? What do you think?
So it's definitely been a lot better the past couple years. Instead of when I first started way back with COVID, the number of people in the stands were very minimal. Now there's nights that the stands are completely packed. There's nowhere to sit. Everyone's standing or somewhere. Then there's other nights when you show up, you look in the stands, and they're half full. It's either a hit or miss depending on what weekend it is.
Yeah. Is it expensive to go, like for spectators to go?
I'm not really sure because I don't go through the spec. So the pit. So to get into the pits, it's one different area. Then the tickets for for the spectators are a whole other one. I don't think it's. I think it's like. I want to say it's somewhere between like $30, like $20 to $40 for someone to go.
Yeah, I don't know. See, I haven't gone in a while. And then when I used to go, we used to film, and so we were there with the media, So I don't know. I haven't been there in a while. That's why I was curious,
Yeah.
Now, since things changed there, they got new owners a few years back. Do you think it got better?
So actually, it's still the same owner. No, it's not. It hasn't changed ownership. The track. It's just changed who's been in charge. It's kind of hard because you can't really put one person's success or failure over for another one, especially because I'm not there as often as others. So it's kind of hard to say if it's gotten better or worse. But over the years, just by being there, I think the track itself has gotten a little bit better as far as cleanliness and coming back to life a little bit. It's gotten better. The racing's still the way it's always been. Just you show up, either you finish or you don't, depending on how everything goes for you. Either you do really good or you're there.
Well, and it's more of a family thing too for spectators, right? Usually they'll come with a family, and and I heard they did work on the track. They have fixed like bleachers and stuff are better, and
yeah. So
I heard
all the old wooden bleachers with the all the venues underneath, those are all gone now. They're all aluminum bleachers, and they bring food trucks in now.
Okay.
Which the food trucks they've been bringing in are very good. A couple ice cream trucks, brought pizza trucks in, different ones with
oh wow,
all different stuff. It's been really good.
So that works out better than having your own concessions.
Yeah, so having the different concessions being to the food trucks is a lot better for the track, at least.
Yeah.
I still bring pre-prepared food from my house, throw it in a crock pot, and see you later.
Yeah.
Just it's a little bit more cost effective for a small team.
I mean, to be honest with you, even the spectators, it's not a cheap deal. You figure it out. You bring a family. What does it cost you?
Yeah.
It's not cheap. And then when you race, just to build a car or truck or whatever, it's not cheap either,
No, it's not.
So it's you gotta have some money or a good job or something.
Yeah, that can help.
Sponsors help too. Now, in your case, Cameron, do you have any sponsors who help you?
Yeah, so a couple of my sponsors I have is Tavern on the Tracks. He's out of Berlin. Really nice guy. His name's Craig. He'll help out with tires, and he gives me a couple $100 every couple of weeks. And he's, because it's advertising. He wants his company advertised, so he paid for the hood. He has that all season. That's his. And then I have Hotspot Stove and Spa. It's my uncle's company. He does heating and air conditioning. He does more of the heating side, does pellet stoves, a lot of stuff like that. So he's got the quarter panels. And then I have...
Now, what does he do for you? Money or...
Yeah, so he gives a little bit... He contributes some money to help keep the truck running.
Okay.
Then I have Connecticut... I think, it's CT Ready Mix. He pays for all my fuel. So I'll go to the track, go to the fuel truck, and it's a set. It's always the same amount almost every week.
Now, is it regular pump gas?
Yeah, so that's pump gas.
Yeah.
So I use pump gas. I also use, every now and then I'll mix in some race fuel, so it's the same. It's all the same. It's nothing.
Well, Cameron, when you're having fun, time flies. We're going to have to wrap up tonight's show. I want to thank you and wish you luck next time you race. And I got to get down to watch you. I want to thank the viewers for tuning in tonight. And if you get a chance and you get to Waterford, I'm coming to watch number 54 truck race. And Cameron, I'm sure, will do well that night. We want to thank you for watching, and please return next week to Racing Action Today.
The Saybrook Fish House in Canton has been serving fresh seafood, chicken, and prime steaks for 40 years. Experience one of our 3 unique dining room settings, 2 with fireplaces, or relax in our cozy pub with a craft beer, wine by the glass, or specialty cocktail while enjoying a meal from our new lighter fare pub menu. Serving lunch and dinner Tuesday through Sunday. Reservations accepted for parties of 2 to 42. Gift cards always available. The Saybrook Fish House, nestled at the crossroads of routes 44, 202, and 179 in Canton.
I'm your host, Kurt Barwis. Today, I have a very special guest, Dr. Andrew Lim.
Hello, and welcome to another episode of the Veterans Corner. My name's Chuck Wooden.
Decision for ourselves for this week, if we want to be made well.
Hi, welcome to the crack of dawn. It's Dawn Lombardi. I'm starting the painting. It's going to be the clips with some water. Love it.
He took me on the sets of Lost in Space, Batman.
Everybody has a story. What's yours? Until next time.